I am Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss Joker Folie, the new film that's out. It's the sequel to the 2019 smash hit Joker film. Before I get Brittany's thoughts on the film, though, I want to hit you with some Folie facts. The film was released on October 4th, 2024. It's rated R, just like the previous movie was. The budget for this one, 200 million, which was a very large increase from the original movie, which was only 60 million budget. The box office so far not great. 117 million, not terrible, but not good. 117 million worldwide. Again, the first one grossed over $1 billion. It was also critically acclaimed. It led the 2020 Oscars with 11 nominations, and Joaquin Phoenix won the Best Actor Oscar for his role as Arthur Fleck / Joker, not the Joker, which we will discuss in a little bit. Directed by Todd Phillips. He also directed the first movie. And the cast, of course, includes Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, Brendan Gleeson, Catherine Keener, Steve Coogan, Harry Lawtey, Zazie Beetz, and Leigh Gill. Brittany, what are your overall thoughts of Joker Folie à Deux?
It had to marinate in my brain for a little while. I will say, like, I left the theater somewhat indifferent, I guess would be the word. I didn't hate it. I also didn't love it, right? Certainly don't love it as much as I do Joker, because I did rewatch Joker the night before I watched Joker Folie à Deux. And when I tell you that Joker is a masterpiece, it's because every time I've watched it since its release 5 years ago, I always find something new that I've missed, right? And I've watched this movie plenty of times, right? And I feel like with Folie à Deux, it just didn't quite hit the same way that Joker did. And it's for a couple of reasons. It's not because of acting. I think acting was phenomenal. Joaquin can act his ass off. Lady Gaga, I feel she's one of those kind of rare talents where she's transitioned in a way from performing on the stage to performing on the silver screen, and it works. Like, she is that double threat, triple threat, if you will. And she did wonderful. And Brendan Gleeson, I kind of forgot that Brendan Gleeson was in the movie. I thought he was great as well. Now, I had no problem with the movie in the sense of it being about 50% musical, because y'all know.
Do you think it was 50? Because like I've seen the movie twice, and after seeing it the second time, I think it's like between 30 and 40. Maybe not even that high. I'm not sure.
I still will go 50. I would say, okay, 40, 50, 40 to 50% musical. I don't quite agree with the 30. I will say about 40 to 50%. Okay. But I've only watched the movie once. I was fine with the musical parts of it because it ties into the previous movie of Joker, where after he's committed crimes, you see him like kind of just dancing to music inside his head. And we're kind of elaborating on that, on that aspect of who Arthur Fleck is. Right. And so it tied in. For those who don't like musicals, you're probably not going to like this movie at all, which is really sad, because Lady Gaga is a gem. I've seen her perform live twice. She's phenomenal. Joaquin, I actually forgot that he can sing, because he did play Johnny Cash in Walk the Line. He was actually handpicked by Johnny Cash to play him in the biopic. So like, that's pretty cool. I thought the acting, the musical numbers, cinematically, it looked phenomenal. However, the story just, I don't think, was told as well as Joker. And the reason I say that, although I understood the story, I understood the theme of it, I understood the ending, for a director to come out in an interview after the movie premieres and have to explain the ending to me, while I did understand everything, it's just not a good look. Like, if you have to go and explain the ending because perhaps maybe you did not tell the story well cinematically. And Justin, before you say anything, I know there are people out there who are just, dumb and want everything to be spoon fed to them, because that's just kind of in the days that we live in now. Right. Yeah. But I don't hate this movie. I don't agree with the negativity that this movie has been receiving at
Yeah.
all. I think it is definitely a different, albeit artistic approach to telling this story of Arthur Fleck and therefore Leigh Quenzel, if you will, because Folie Deux, by definition, means delusion or mental illness shared by two people in close
Right.
association. Now, one would think this is about Joker or Arthur Fleck, but I kind of lean towards it's about Leigh and her delusion, if you will. And we'll
Yeah.
elaborate on that later
Oh,
on
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah, like you said, Folie à Deux, the title is it's French word. It's a French phrase meaning shared madness or madness for two, which I really enjoyed this film. It like you said, I don't think it's as good as the first movie. Clearly, it's not as good, but I did enjoy it. I think the title is very appropriate, given what happens with the story with these two characters. They have this shared fantasy that, and by the way, all the musical sequences, they're all a part of a fantasy, and that's why, like, whenever you say about the and okay, so start off, we're gonna spoil the whole movie. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to see the movie, go watch the movie, come back and check out our review. But from here on out, we're going to be spoiling the movie. So, you talked about how Todd Phillips gave an interview, I think, to Variety or Hollywood Reporter, whichever trade publication, and talked about the ending. Now, I'm sure a lot of that's because the movie has not done well financially. I mean, critically, it's been absolutely panned, and I don't really understand the hate for this movie, the over hate, it's just kind of over the top. It's excessive.
I feel like
Um,
that's the trend though. Like people
no, it
nowadays just
is
want to hate on stuff because it
right,
gets them noticed.
right,
Like
yeah.
the females that were hating on Deadpool and Wolverine and saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian and this is so
Yeah,
sacrilegious."
but
Wow,
they were
like shut up.
they were on their own little island because
Oh
that
Lord,
movie
yes, they were.
was, made 1.3 billion. I think it's actually still in theaters some places. Um, did very well. This movie though, it is funny what you said about people wanna hate stuff. I do feel like in this country, I mean, the world, but in this country especially, we're so divided on so many things, but we love nothing more than to come together and, like, shit on a movie, and that seems like what people love to do. And I just don't think this movie's worth that. I think it's a solid movie. I mean, the things I've seen this week about how Cinema Score was something I'd never even heard of until The Flash, and then when The Flash came out with Cinema Score, they gave The Flash a B, right? And apparently, according to their scale or their how they keep track of this, a B is bad. That's not good. And I'm
What?
like, that doesn't make any sense, right?
So
So
what is A
so
ass? Like
no,
come
no, no.
on.
Like, I mean, you want to get an A or an A plus, but if you get a B, that's actually not great. Well,
Mm,
this movie got a D, and I'm telling you, that is ridiculous. It is the
I
lowest
don't agree with this.
rate. It's the lowest scored comic book film ever. So you mean to tell me that there are people who watch this movie, then they watched the Marvels, they watched Morbius, and they watched
Madam
Madam
Web
Web. They watched those three movies, and they all thought, "Oh yeah,
and Wonder Woman 80 whatever the fuck that
Wonder Woman
was.
84 is not that bad." But they're, I mean,
Ugh.
the last hell, both Aquaman movies, the Shazam movies, I mean, not the first one, but the second Shazam movie, it's really bad. I mean, there's so many bad superhero movies through the years, and you're telling me this is the worst one? That's ridiculous. Like, this movie is so well made. You
Yeah.
mentioned the acting, the
Yeah.
musical stuff. I'm not a fan of musicals. I mean, I've seen, whatchamacallit, the famous one that was on Disney Plus,
Hamilton.
Hamilton. I watched that when you told me to watch it.
You're
I enjoyed
welcome.
it. I don't know much about musicals, but the way they use the musical part aspects of the story, it makes sense. They explain
It
it.
does.
In the movie, the music teacher tells the story that, like, music makes us whole and it helps us heal
Mhm.
the fractures in our life. And that
Yes.
explains why these two characters come together and they have this shared fantasy with him being the Joker and her being, Harley Quinn. And, like, there's this crime duo that's, like, taking over Gotham. The music is a huge part of it, and it's very well
Yeah.
explained. So, I guess what I was in a roundabout way, I was trying to get you to say, like, so what was Todd Phillips saying about the ending? Was he talking about how Arthur dies, or what was
I think
the
and
phrase or whatever he
this
was
also
saying?
kind of ties into a comment here from King B. Johnson. We appreciate you being here and joining all of our live streams. Shout out to those who are watching as well, and also rewatching the replay. So King B says, so many are saying it was an unnecessary sequel. Hashtag it is necessary. Now, to that comment, and I'll come back to what you're saying about or asking about Todd Phillips explaining the ending. I don't really view Joker Folie à Deux as a sequel. I view it more as an epilogue, if you will, which is sort of different than a sequel, because a sequel will have like a continuation, where this one, there's a hard stop at the end of this movie, right? And I think for people to say it's unnecessary, because I think the people have this fascination or this fantasy that Arthur Fleck is supposed to be the Joker,
right,
that squares off with the Batman.
Right.
And people, there has never been the word "the" in any of these titles, in neither Joker nor Joker Folie à Deux.
Yeah.
This was not meant to be the Joker that we come to know as Batman's biggest, or greatest nemesis, if you will, arch enemy. And this is where I say I understood the interpretation of this whole movie, even in Joker. Arthur Fleck was never meant to have a happy ending. He was never meant to be this villain that everyone was expecting. Arthur Fleck was just a guy, albeit mentally unstable, I will give him that, who just had so much shit happening in his life. Society was working against him, if you will. And he was the inspiration, perhaps, behind who would be the Joker, possibly, who is the guy that ended up murdering him at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that in a little bit, I'll elaborate a little bit more, but I think overall, this is not meant to be the origin story of the Joker. This is, to me, the inspiration behind who would be the Joker. Arthur Fleck was never going to be a criminal mastermind.
No.
He was just a guy that got pissed off, that, had the means to taking out the 3 Wayne execs. And then he got pissed off with his mom because she lied to him all his life and spoke negatively about him. And then Murray Franklin publicly humiliated him.
Yeah.
I've been drinking,
and
y'all,
also,
so if I start slurring my words,
Murray
please
Franklin's
forgive
the one
me.
who called him Joker.
Called him Joker. He called him Joker. He gave him a platform.
Right.
And he further humiliated him, if you will. And so he had enough. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone has a breaking point. It just so happened to be a breaking point that was on live TV. And he also had enough with that former coworker of his, the clown guy who he murdered in his apartment. Right. So the guy snapped, but the guy was never going to be a criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
There's no way, because if he was, he would have never been caught. Okay.
Yeah.
So I understood that interpretation. I understood it from the jump from Joker. Okay. However, to going back to your question about why Todd Phillips gave this interview to explain the ending, is because the fact that people were misinterpreting the overall story, which is, this isn't about the Joker. This is about a guy who served as the inspiration.
To be nice and not to, just to be real, those people are dumb. They're not thinking hard enough. And I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this movie is like made for super intellectuals. I'm certainly not one of the. I'm not the smartest person in the world. Okay, but
you're a goddamn genius.
But it's very. This movie was not hard for me to follow. I do think that because of the musical aspects being fantasies, there's some disjointedness in the movie, and the movie is, it begins a plotting movie. It's kind of slow to start out with, and it's it's about 15 minutes longer than the original movie. So I mean, understand
Joker doesn't speak for the first 30 minutes of the movie, basically.
Right. Yeah.
That's jarring.
But for people to it's funny because the first movie, people got upset about how there was, Bruce Wayne's in there, little kid Bruce Wayne's there, and like you're implying that Arthur is a son, is a illegitimate son of Thomas Wayne, and it's like the people who didn't want the Batman stuff in the first movie, right?
Right.
Now they want they're like, this guy, the movie's called Joker. I keep seeing that's what people, that's a common thing. Like the movie's called Joker. It's like, this is an Elseworld tale about this character, right? And like what you just said, that yes, he is the inspiration. He was never meant to be the clown prince of crime who goes head to head with Batman. That was
Right.
never gonna happen. Like,
No.
Arthur Fleck is a very troubled, a person dealing with mental
Traumatized.
yeah, traumatized, abused, dealing with mental illness who instead of, like most of us, there's a right path, there's a wrong path. He indulged in this fantasy and became this killer clown, right? He killed 6 people,
Mhm.
counting his mother. So he
Mhm.
was never gonna get a happy ending. So I can
Right.
understand if you don't like the ending of this movie, that's fine. But
Yeah.
if you say it doesn't make sense, you're wrong about that. It does make sense.
It
They
makes
ex
perfect sense.
they explain it. Like, if you really watch it and you're really paying attention to the movie, like,
Mhm.
this movie's not a hard movie to follow. It's really not. It's very well
It's not.
made. It
There
looks
are
beautiful.
holes. I will say there are holes
Okay.
in the movie for
Yeah.
sure. More holes in this movie than there were in Joker, however,
Yes. Yeah. But,
you know,
you know, going
it's
back
not as
to
bad as what people are saying.
going back to King B's, comment, and him saying about how people say it's unnecessary. Okay, let me just explain this to everybody. So, the first movie was meant to be a one-off, right?
Yes,
And like
absolutely.
I mentioned
Absolutely.
they took $60 million and said, "You know what? Go make an art house type movie about a DC character." Todd
Yep.
Phillips did it.
Yep.
It did such good business, such a phenomenal business. One of the
$1 billion.
but given how much it cost to make and how much it made, one of the most profitable movies in Hollywood history, it's gotta be. Now, we've talked about Hollywood accounting before, so who knows? Maybe it wasn't, but let's be real, it was. It made a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
because the movie made so much money, and the business dictated it had to have a sequel, right? So they came up with an idea, and I think they came up with a really good idea. But
Mhm.
this movie was never gonna transition to him fighting a guy in a bat suit. That just was
Mm-mm.
not gonna happen. If that was your expectations, I don't know what do you want? Like, there's another Batman out there. There's the Robert Pattinson story. There's all kinds of stuff you can watch. This was not about Batman and the future of that character. Like, this was about this character, Arthur Fleck, who became this, this troubled person who inspired possibly inspired the Joker. We don't know because this is the end of the story. And that's the thing about
Mhm.
something else. One of my things I want to talk about is the fact that I really enjoyed this movie a, a lot, and I was looking forward to this movie because like you said, I thought the first one was a masterpiece, and
Yes.
obviously many people did as well. It won, like I
Yes.
said, it won some Oscar or got a lot of nominations. Joaquin Phoenix won, made a ton of money, and to me, I was interested okay, when I heard about a sequel, it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, do I need a sequel? No. And when people say, do we need this? The answer is we don't need any of this stuff. Okay. We don't need
What
it.
okay,
But let me just finish this real quick. We don't need any of this stuff, right? But then
yeah.
people go, why does this exist? Why does anything exist? It's because of money. Okay. That's why
Mhm.
do humans do anything? Because of money. 99.9% of the time we do anything, it's for monetary reasons. That's
Yeah.
it. So if you're just learning that, I hope I helped you with that. Um, but,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, like, it's that's the reason for that, okay? Money, that's the reason.
Right.
But what they came up with, I think did work. Go ahead, Brittany.
To add to your point, what are the purpose of movies? And that is to entertain.
Right. But
Not all
also for those
movies
companies to make money, right?
right. Not all movies need to make sense. Not all movies need to, you know, be explained.
Yeah.
They don't need to be opaque, or less opaque or, whatever. It's they're meant to entertain. And wholeheartedly I agree with you, Justin, that the reason that this movie was done solely was for the almighty dollar.
Yes, of course.
It earned $1 billion, with Joker, which was 5 years ago. I still can't believe that was 5 years ago. I feel like I still haven't processed
Yeah, and something
2020.
else, it was pre-pandemic. That's also
Yeah,
that probably hurt the box office a little bit.
bonkers.
Yeah, so
Bonkers. Okay. And mind you, this was also Joaquin Phoenix's first and probably, I will die on this hill, only sequel he will ever do
yeah,
because that's just who he is. He doesn't do sequels. And if uh the studios needed money because they're doing poorly or what have you, because this is Warner Brothers, right? Um, they haven't been doing well for the
no,
last few years, right? They totally scrapped the Batgirl movie, right?
yeah,
And got money back from that because like Warner Brothers is a fucking mess. Okay, they are only profitable with like Harry Potter and maybe one other franchise. I'll say.
Well, with Warner Bros. Discovery, I don't know how profitable they are with anything, and I think that company, I honestly I do believe that like HBO and DC and these they're going to be sold off to other companies.
Oh,
Don't be
without a doubt.
surprised like if DC, like Apple or Amazon buys that, or HBO goes with one of those. I mean, because that company's
HBO is the way to go. Okay, guys, like the Penguin, fucking
Yeah.
masterpiece. Okay, and
yeah,
we're not even like all the way through the season.
no, we're like not even halfway yet. So
Yeah. Okay. Not to get on, focusing back on Folie à Deux. That's the reason that this movie exists. It made a lot of money for the first movie.
Yeah.
Hell, like why not make more money? Why not?
Yeah.
Was it a miss? To a degree, maybe so. But I think if we start really catering to like fan stuff, like we're just gonna have shit movies.
Yeah, I mean, do y'all
from here on out?
Y'all want the Rise of Skywalker? Was that cool? Was that fun? Did y'all enjoy the Rise of Skywalker?
Do not get me started on that
movie I've ever
fucking
seen
movie.
Yeah,
Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker. Do not get me started on it.
But see, that was the backlash to Last Jedi led to the Rise of Skywalker. Which is that anybody's favorite Star Wars movie? No, it's not. Was that the way to end that saga? I mean, come on, it's a joke.
For Mark fucking Hamill, Luke Skywalker, to say that Last Jedi was a fucking mess. Luke Skywalker would have never done anything that he was made to do. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't mind Last Jedi. To me, it's like they chose a path and then they're like, oh, well, the fans don't like the path, so let's go the other way. That's stupid. The thing about this movie that I do think is funny, because if you ask, we heard this for years, superhero fatigue. Oh, it's the same stuff over and over. Oh, it's the same stuff. If you ask someone, what do you want to see? Like, what kind of movie you want to see? They'll say, I guarantee they'll say these two things. They'll say, I want to see something new. I want to see something different. Well, that's what this Joker, I say series, or franchise, these two movies, that's what they were. It was a different take on these famous characters, right? Like when Jack Nicholson play the Joker in '89, everyone thought, well, that's the best version of the Joker we're ever going to get. And then Heath Ledger came along with The Dark Knight, and it was, even better, right? So now we're getting a different take. And I'm not even talking about, the Jared Leto version that was briefly in some movies in DC. But no, it was something different. It was something new, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. And I appreciated how they told this story. And, like Lady Gaga, that was a great idea. I thought she was great. Honestly,
Bravo.
like, I haven't really seen a whole lot of negative stuff about her. So at least she's kind of, it seems like, great. I mean, that's the thing about this movie where it's like, everyone goes, well, the acting was good. And like, it looked good. Like, so like, what's the problem? I don't understand. Like, I love the first one. So I was looking forward to seeing the story continue. And in this case, we saw the story also continue and conclude.
Yes.
So that's what that's the disconnect. I'm not understanding. Like, if you didn't like the first one, cool. Don't see this movie. You're going to hate it. But if you like the first one, and a lot of people did, why are you hating on this movie so much? I just don't understand.
Yeah. Real quick, Justin, I'm going to go to the chat. Yeah. We've got Mel, Geeking Out with Melly Mella, joining us. Appreciate you being here. She says she's popping in to say hello. She hasn't seen the movie yet. That's fine. It's okay. Don't worry. We're just kind of griping about how people are hating on this movie, but to each their own. As I said, we've had King B. Johnson here in today's chat. We're also joined by Rakib, who is sharing his thoughts also about Joker, Folie à Deux, and other things. So appreciate y'all being here. Let us know what you think of Folie à Deux, and also at the same time, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out. And yeah, we'd love to know your overall thoughts on Joker, Folie à Deux. So Justin, let's get back into the nitty gritty of Folie à Deux, of course. Yeah. I think with the intro of Joker, like starring in his own sort of animated show or movie, was kind of fun because it still kind of plays on this whole fantasy sort of situation, but this isn't fantasy. This is actually like a real thing where after the events of Joker, someone's out there decided to do like a movie. It's an animated movie of Joker and the events that happened. This movie takes place 2 years after the events of Joker. Arthur Fleck is in Arkham State Hospital where he is awaiting trial, and his lawyer is trying to use the defense that he is mentally unstable. There's actually a dual personality that lives inside of him, and that is Joker. Joker is the one who committed these crimes. Arthur Fleck would never hurt a fly.
Yeah.
And also having Brendan Gleeson play the, I guess you could say, security guard in this movie. I totally forgot from like the trailer that Brendan Gleeson was going to be it. I was even further blown away when we actually got to hear him sing a little bit. I'm like, oh, like, okay. Like for me, Brendan Gleeson, he's most recognizable in 3 movies for me. The first being Harry Potter.
Yep.
Harry Potter, he played Mad-Eye Moody. In Bruges, he played not opposite, but he acted alongside Colin Farrell, who is currently playing the Penguin in DC and Max's The Penguin. And then also Gangs in New York, right? He had a kind of a role in the movie with Leo DiCaprio, Gangs in New York. So like Brendan Gleeson for me is like one of my favorite actors, and seeing him in this role, kind of just like being associated with Arthur Fleck, but then also hearing him sing, I was just like, this is really cool. Like this is like stepping out, maybe outside of the box a little bit for him.
Yeah.
Because I can't recall if I've ever seen Brendan do something similar in the past.
He played one of the abusive bully prison guards.
Yes, yes, he did.
No,
oh my god.
Yeah, no, he was great. I mean, the whole cast was great. I just
Phenomenal.
don't. Like I said,
I
don't have a lot of problems with the movie. I don't have any issues with the movie.
I love seeing Steve Coogan in the very short time that we got Steve Coogan interviewing Arthur Fleck for that television interview. I was like, oh, this is great, because I also remember seeing Steve in, oh God help me, Pirates of the Caribbean. So like a lot of these like actors that I've known for other, franchises and things like that, to be brought into this movie was like absolutely amazing for me to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great cast. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed everybody. A newcomer to me, I don't watch the HBO series Industry, but the actor who played Harvey Dent, Harry Lawtey.
Yes.
What'd you think about him? I thought he was pretty great.
I won't say he was underwhelming. It's not enough for me to like really have a great impression of him either way. Because I know obviously the movie's not focusing on Harvey Dent. Like you kind of need the character Harvey Dent in a way to be affiliated with this whole universe. Which by the way, unlike the Penguin that we're watching on Max, Gotham City in the show The Penguin is set in New Jersey, whereas in Joker, Gotham City is set in New York, because the trial is the state of New York versus Arthur Fleck, which I thought was totally hilarious, because it's like 2 different universes, obviously, but
I mean,
same characters.
Gotham is often an analog for New York,
yes,
the thing about Marvel, what Marvel does better than DC is Marvel uses our world, right? So
if
you're a superhero in New York, or if you're in Cleveland or Houston or wherever, right, you're actually in those places. Where in the DC world, you've got Kansas, like Smallville, Kansas is where Clark Kent's from, right?
Right.
But then he goes to work in Metropolis, and you're like, well, is Metropolis is kind of an analog
Pennsylvania.
No, it's kind of a analog for New York also, right?
Yeah, I know.
But then it's like, so you're saying he's going from Smallville, Middle America, Kansas, to the far East Coast to New York City? Like that's, and then like, we've seen it before in Batman v Superman. It was almost like it was like New York, New Jersey with Gotham and Metropolis, or the Bay Area with San Francisco and Oakland. So the geography of DC has always been kind of a mystery. And but yeah, no, it was kind of cool. Yeah.
I just think it's funny for like the first time, I believe in Gotham City or Batman lore, you're actually getting a state associated with the city.
I think they mentioned New York in the first one also, right? I believe no. Okay, because I mean the movie was definitely based on late 70s, early 80s New York, like the setting for both films. So
yeah. Real quick, Justin, before we continue, I just want to highlight a comment from Rahib. Hope you guys are safe from the hurricane. Appreciate it. We're actually located in Texas. The hurricane is actually headed towards the state of Florida, which definitely, I've got friends over there. I just came back from Florida about 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and, it's the downside of living in the Gulf, being a coastal state. We're very prone to hurricanes, and we do definitely hope that everything will be okay for our friends out in Florida and along the other states that will be impacted by Hurricane Milton, which is a terrible name, by the way. Um,
I mean, really none of them are good. If a hurricane hits your area or your city or what,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It could be your own name would be the worst one possibly. So,
yeah,
um,
it is. But appreciate it though. Appreciate your thoughts and consideration. But we're good here in Texas for right now.
yeah,
Hurricane
we're
season doesn't end until November.
right. So we've got a few more weeks we got to get through. But yeah, we definitely get our fair share. But Florida certainly has been hit hard, or will be
Yeah,
presumably
they
hit
will
hard.
be.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully everybody's out there staying as safe as possible.
Yeah.
Um, Back to the film. You mentioned the animated opening. I just want to
Mhm.
point out that the title was "Me and My Shadow," which is kind of it's kind of the movie story, like in a little quick 2-minute kind of animated version. I thought that was really creative to
Yeah.
do that because this is a movie that was very much anticipated.
Yeah.
Obviously most people didn't like it for whatever reason, but people were looking forward to seeing this film. So I thought that was a cool way to open it. It was a way I would not have predicted. I would not have
No.
predicted we get an animated scene in this film. So
No. And I think with Me and My Shadow is just very apropos, like the duality of personalities, right?
yeah,
You look at Peter Pan, for example, whose shadow sometimes did its own thing, right? And this is very much a nod to something similar where a split personality, the other person may be doing the thing, but
right,
the original person would have never done something of that
right,
nature. So yeah, it was a great like visual, if you will.
yeah, definitely. So let's talk about Lady Gaga's Harleen Lee Quinzel. She goes by Lee,
Yeah,
but her full name is Harleen. Thus, we get the Harley Quinn later. Um, we meet her, and she's also in Arkham. She is in a choir group, and she meets Arthur, and that's really where the story picks up. That's really how we get Folie Do. That's how we get the fantasy and all the musical aspects are not all of them, but most of them are built around the two of them being together.
yeah.
Um, what'd you think about how that played out, Brittany?
Oh no, it was I think in most adaptations with Harley Quinn and um Joker,
Joker.
it's and I'm not an expert when it comes to comics, so don't come at me, y'all. But I think I've heard renditions of Harley Quinn being Joker's like therapist or psychiatrist or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
right? Like
psychologist. Yeah,
someone who's observing him and taking notes and what have you. Whereas this is more like on level with who Arthur Fleck is as a person. He's a patient inmate, if you will, at Arkham State Hospital, and according to Leigh's story, she is here because she set fire to her apartment. Her parents had her committed, and all this other stuff, like just to try to relate, I guess, to Arthur, and that explains why she's there, but that's not entirely truthful. You know, we later find out that, and I noticed this too when she visits Arthur in confinement, where she's like, "Oh, they're sending me home. They're saying you're a bad influence on me." I'm like, that would never happen. Okay, that was
yeah,
like red flag number one.
right.
And then we get the truth of the matter where the defense lawyer to Arthur says, "Hey, she's not who she says she is, this Leigh person.
Right.
She actually comes from a very wealthy family, not from the slums where you grew up."
Yeah, because she said she was from the same neighborhood as Arthur.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She has a wealthy family. She lived in the Upper West Side. She went to grad school for psychology or something like that.
Yeah, psychology.
She checked herself into Arkham
Yeah,
for reasons that the I don't know if the lawyer said it or not, but it seemed like she checked herself into Arkham when Arthur was
yeah,
there
to
because
meet
she
him.
wanted to meet him. To meet him. Yeah.
She was captivated, much like the people in the crowd at the end of the first movie. She was one of those people. So she
Yeah.
checked herself into Arkham State Hospital just to meet him. That
Yes.
was her sole purpose and part
Right.
of the fantasy she was creating that
And
she wanted to be with
she
Joker. Yeah.
she was playing him, right? Because eventually the truth does come out, right? She's out, she's on the outside, she comes to visit him, and he asks her all these questions like, did you lie about how why you were here and this and that, what have you? And then she drops a bomb. She says that she's pregnant and it's his baby.
We should mention that they do have a sex scene before this.
Arthur loses his virginity, y'all.
Right. But before they have sex, which that's also a scene where it's like, okay, the question would be, how does she get into his cell? Because he's put in the hole because he's in solitary confinement for basically he was punished by the guards for
because of the fire. She started a fire inside the movie or the choir room where they're watching a movie.
Exactly.
They run out, have one of their little musical numbers, what have you. They get caught, they get separated. He gets put in confinement, and then she comes and visits him. Continue.
Yeah, so she gets in the cell with him and they have a quick sex scene but before they have sex, she
gotta say it like that.
No, I mean it's a very quick scene though. But
it was his first time. Of course it's gonna be a quickie.
I'm not saying about that. I'm just talking about, the run time of the scene.
Yeah.
Before they have sex, she paints his face like a clown because obviously that's what does it for her.
That's who she's into. Yeah, she's not into Arthur Fleck. She's into Joker.
Exactly. So that's why later on she says she's pregnant, which that is one of the things in the movie that really goes nowhere because she never really denies it, or does she say it's a lie? What was your feeling on that? Because that is something that to me was kind of an unanswered question. I didn't think she was actually pregnant, but they don't really address it later on. He references it toward the end, but then she never says yay or nay. So
I think that's part of the ambiguity of this storytelling because like the first movie, you don't know what's real and what isn't, right? We thought because we saw it on screen, at least according to Arthur, he had a relationship with his neighbor who was played by Zazie Beetz, right? This Sophia Dumond. And we later find out in this movie when she is taking the stand, giving her testimony, that was not real, right? We saw it from the perspective of Arthur. And from what Sophia, she said that, he was obsessed, but they never had an actual relationship. Not also, she could be lying. She could be lying. Why you always lying? Why you always lying? Anyway, my point is, I think that's kind of part of the formula of this movie is that there's aspects of the characters and events that are meant to be ambiguous. Like you're just not meant to know what's real and what isn't. And that will also play into the very end of this movie when we get to that point. But I feel like Folie Deux is not really meant to associate with Arthur Fleck. I think it's more for Leigh or Harleen, whatever her name fucking name is, Quinzel.
Harleen Quinzel.
Harleen. I think it's meant more for her. And that's another thing I've been hearing a lot from people is like the movie was too focused on her. Well, and I think that may in a way was on purpose because Arthur Fleck may not have ever really had a true fantasy of being Joker. I think he embraced it when he was getting the attention that he severely lacked growing up because no one liked him. Everyone thought that he was weird. And yes, he had a horrible childhood. His mother allowed abuse and she's not well either. And so it just, it's environmental. But I don't ever think that Folie Deux was meant to associate with Arthur. I think it was meant to associate with Leigh Quinzel. She had this fantasy of him being Joker, and he wanted to be liked or loved so much that he was going to play along with the whole thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I do think that just given the meaning of it, because it's a shared thing, that's why I do think it's both of them. But
yeah, that in that sense, yes, they shared a fantasy, but I don't believe it truly was ever Arthur's fantasy to begin with. I don't think. Now, do I think he has like a mental illness? Of course I do. Yeah. Of course I do. There's definite trauma, and people behave differently with trauma and grief and things of that nature. Hell, I'm one of them. Okay. My point is, I don't believe the fantasy truly belonged to him. I think it belonged to her.
Okay. I mean, one of the things about this movie, especially the first movie, was we wanted to know like what's real and what's not real, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, we thought that Zazie Beetz' character, he killed her. That's what we kind of were led to believe.
Yes, we
So
did.
the fact that she was in the movie at all was kind of a surprise to me, um, given how the first movie ended. But with this film, like to me, this movie it wasn't as complicated between what was real and what was fake. It was more about what's part of the fantasy, the musical stuff, and what's
Yeah.
happening in the actual world to Arthur Fleck.
Mhm.
Um, so I did think that was a little bit easier to follow. Again, this movie wasn't hard to understand. I don't understand why people don't get that, but um,
And I do believe that there was music in Arthur that no one else heard.
yeah,
And that goes back to what we saw in Joker, because again, after he killed the 3 Wayne employees, he runs off to the bathroom to hide and what have you, and then he starts kind of these movements. It's almost like a cross between like not a ballet, but
yeah,
like a tai chi, dance sort of
right,
thing. And it's like he's at peace with what has happened.
yeah,
And music can be extremely therapeutic for people. And if
right.
he's hearing music in his own head, that's one
Well,
way of looking at it.
and the first movie, like if the musical aspect is what turned people away, there's a ton of music and dancing and singing in the first movie. There really
Mhm.
is. I mean, think about the 3 guys he kills on the bus or on the subway.
Send in the
They're
clown.
singing as they're, like, trying to bully him. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen in a ton of other movies, so
Mm-mm.
that's why this being a musical wasn't like, "Oh my god," it wasn't, like, that surprising, really, and
Mm-mm.
honestly, how they use the music, I kinda figured it would be, like, fantasy kinda situations. I didn't think it was gonna be like they're gonna be, in a serious scene and then all start dancing and then jump back into the scene. Like that's part of why
Right.
the movie's kind of disjointed, but also the way they did it made the musical things work for me.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, no, I mean, there are holes for sure. Like I mentioned that
Let's
earlier.
get to like what are your holes in the movie?
So in the scene where Harley, and we don't know how Leigh, gets into the confinement room with Arthur, and this before they have sex, she says to him, "You need to stop taking your medication."
Yeah,
To which he says, "I already have." But prior to that, we see Arthur's daily routine
right.
within Arkham State Hospital, and that's they get out of bed, they pour out their
Chamber pot, basically.
chamber
Yeah,
pot. Thank you. I was going to say something completely different.
yeah,
They get in line, they go and get this medication, they take the medication in front of the nurse, and then they have to go to a second person to prove that they've taken this medication. Well, how could he have stopped taking the medication if
yeah.
that's
No,
his daily routine?
right. No, I agree with you. That is a hole. That's
It's a
not really
definite
explained.
hole.
Yeah,
I mean, and we've previously heard Arthur say in the first movie how when he was talking to his social worker, he's on 7 different medications, and she's like, surely, something has to be working. And he goes, I just want to stop feeling so bad. But he had also said that he had felt better when he was basically in the hospital,
mhm,
right? And it cuts away to a scene of him banging his head on the door. But even in Joker, he had said, I stopped taking my medication. I feel great. Like I feel good. And so
right.
it makes you wonder if medication really is suppressing who he really is, or it just wasn't the right dosage. It just like,
Mhm,
why wasn't it working for him, or did he really even need it? Like again, these are these ambiguous sort of um, train of thoughts that leaves you with questions, of course. Um, but that was like the major hole for me of
mhm.
like, well, how the hell are you stopping? How have you stopped taking the medication when you have
Yeah,
to prove that you're taking it every day?
yeah. No, that's a good point. I
What?
mean, I noticed that, but I didn't really like clock it as like a major thing, but that could be. Do you have any other holes you want to mention?
I can't think of it. I should have written this down. I apologize. But listen, I have what's important to me right now,
Yeah,
and that's wine. Okay.
there you go.
That's how I'm making it through today.
Yeah.
If I think about it, I will surely interrupt you or write it down
Okay.
in our
Can't
chat.
wait. Yeah, can't wait.
Shut up.
Um, I did want to point out there are actually some funny bits in the movie.
Yeah.
For a movie, like the first movie was not very funny, but I mean there's some comedy mixed in there. But I did like the joke about how when he meets Leigh for the first time, she references that they made a TV movie about Arthur. She's seen it like 20 times, right? And then later on,
Right.
she says like, "Oh, I've seen it like 5 times." And like because everyone else is telling him like it's terrible. And she's like, "Oh no, the TV movie's great. It's great." And that's a joke they call back to like 3 times. I thought that was pretty funny. Like the way that they played that.
Oh my God, that's subjective of like what we're doing right now. You know, everyone thinks this movie is crap. I'm like, I don't think it's crap. Like it's,
Yeah.
it's not great, but it's not crap,
Yeah, no, I mean, when you stack it up with the other DC movies, like it's
Mm,
higher, it's closer to the top than it is the bottom. I'll just put
it
it that
really
way.
is. It
Like
really
it's
is. It
yeah,
really honestly is. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Maybe one day we'll rank all the DC movies, but I mean, this might end up in the middle, but it's not gonna be, at the very
Mm,
bottom for certainly.
yeah.
It's I mean, honestly, like to me, like after seeing the Rotten Tomato stuff and the cinema score, like
I ain't listening to
I'm not gonna reference that stuff anymore because I don't think it's legitimate. Like if you think this movie is
them.
if you think this movie's worse than Madam Web, then you know what? Good luck with the rest of your life. Honestly, like have fun, do the best you can.
Good luck.
You're gonna need a
It's
lot of help.
fantastic.
I would guess.
Yeah.
Um, and also something about this movie that I enjoyed that I think that for the people who didn't want to see it because of the musical aspect, I like that later in the movie when Arthur is like he's basically saying like he's confronting the fact that he does not want to be this Joker, this killer clown.
Right.
And in one of the fantasies, she's singing to him, and he's like, "No, don't sing. I just want to talk to you. Don't sing to me." Like I thought that was so
Hmm.
brilliant that like you tell like he's breaking through this fantasy, and then of course, obviously, the fantasy is all she has because once
Yeah.
he says in court that he doesn't want to be Joker,
Yeah.
she's done. She
Yeah.
walks out of the courtroom, and then they meet up later, and she says like, "This is over. Like I was in love
Hmm.
with Joker, not you."
Yeah. She
Uh,
never said Arthur throughout the movie
right.
until that moment when she says goodbye.
Yeah.
It was always for her, he was Joker and
Yeah.
nothing else.
And she says goodbye on the staircase next to
Yeah.
where near his apartment, which by the way, she was such a super fan who was in love with him that she bought or rented out his old apartment. And she mentioned to him, like, "We can live there once you're free." And he's like, "I don't want to live there." Like, I thought that was pretty funny too, because
But then she kept saying, "We're going to build a mountain," and she said that to the reporters because after she, checks herself out of Arkham,
yeah,
she is basically the spokesperson for Arthur Fleck or Joker
right.
to the media, and she confronts his attorney, basically saying, you're going to be the reason why he loses his case. Like you're not helping him. Blah blah blah. The attorney leaves and Leigh is left talking to the media, and it's a good crowd around her.
Yeah.
She's like, we're going to be together and we're going to build a mountain. And then you hear someone from that crowd saying, "What does that mean?" And
Right.
I'm
What does
like,
that
yeah,
even mean?
seriously, what the fuck
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah.
We're going to build a mountain out of a hill. Okay, like what?
Well, I think that's a reference to one of the songs that they perform.
No, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
and because you brought that number up right here, right now,
Mhm.
um, Lady Gaga, as I said, I've seen her twice in concert, and she fucking kills it every single time. She kills it. That woman is born to be a performer. She's wonderful. She did have to pull back a lot of her performance style when taking on this role. I think I heard her in an interview where she couldn't be like Lady Gaga in this persona. She had to like kind of tap into somebody else who is not part of her everyday. She did do method acting like Joaquin, and asked to be referred to as Leigh, but her style of singing is, very, on par
Yeah.
with her actual usual singing, but she's just not as projecting or as powerful as she could be. But in that number of, we're going to build a mountain, um, she's playing the piano. Lady Gaga can play the piano. She's phenomenal. She looks great. Like the costumes in these fantasies look incredible. But I was taken aback with Joaquin in that scene when he starts tap dancing. Wow, like no more alcohol for me. Tap dancing. I was blown away by that performance of his. Like again, I forgot that he could sing. I didn't know he had that in him, but he absolutely just I hope he's nominated for something, because aside from like the movie as a whole, he killed it
Yeah.
in this performance.
Yeah,
Like,
he won't
tap
be.
dancing was great.
Yeah, no one from this movie will be, because the way it's been panned, they won't.
Probably not,
Yeah,
probably
they're
not, but
nothing,
when he,
because it's the worst movie ever made. So
whatever.
we've already established that. Yeah.
But when he embodies Joker, because at some point in the movie, I think listening to the testimony of Sophia, played by Zazie Beetz,
Yeah.
and how his mother, when she was still alive, would talk negative about Arthur and saying, I told him this story that he was born to put, smile on people's faces and make everyone happy. And that's why I would call him happy. And she's like, but he's, stupidly just made his whole life around that story, and he actually believes it, and he has this stupid laugh, and I mean, the horrible things coming out of a parent's mouth, and he
Right.
just snaps. Like, in that moment, it cuts away to where you see Joker in the spotlight, and he's singing and what have you, and it's like in that moment he kind of embraces that Joker personality, and he stands up and he fires his attorney. Right, he's gonna represent himself, which is
Right.
pro se, and things per se. But he comes back to court in the Joker makeup, the suit, what have you, and he puts on this performance of getting the testimony from his former coworker, the little person,
Gary Puddles. Yeah.
Gary Puddles, and he takes on this Southern accent.
Yeah, it's a foghorn leghorn kind of.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, wait a minute. I kind of got like the movie A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey, obviously native Texans, got a pretty good accent, what have you. And I was just like, is he like tapping into that? Like,
I
that
think
was
we're meant
kind
to
of fun.
believe that he is like, he's doing what he saw on TV. I think that's what we're meant to kind of think, because
Okay.
he does reference whenever he decides to fire his attorney, he's talking to Leigh in his near his prison cell, or he's in the cell, she's outside the cell. He says, "Do you think I should read like a law book or something?" Like, and so I think that's what we get the next day, because when he talks to Leigh, he even does like Leigh's accent, which I guess Leigh, was he British? Was he Scottish? I think he was British, right? Um, so
He's British of some sort. Yeah.
yeah, so he does like a British accent when he's talking to Leigh. He also,
Questioning.
yeah, he also does like the foghorn leghorn, very southern kind of
I say.
draw. Yeah, yeah, he does that too. And
Mhm.
then it's just like to show that he's learned from TV.
I mean, but that performance alone, like for any actor to try and do different accents, you got this ridiculous makeup on, and you're putting on a show. But he switches, right? He switches with the accent to speaking as Arthur, because Gary is pretty much pouring out his soul to Arthur and saying, "Do you know what all of this did to me? I live in fear. Like, I can't find work. I am so scared every single day. I can't sleep and what have you." And I think it's tapping into whatever may be left of Arthur's humanity at that point, because Arthur very well knows what it's like to not feel safe, right? To not be accepted, and to um not have some sense of security, really.
Right.
And I thought it was brilliant. Like, that whole scene in itself, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. And stay in the courtroom, he breaks down, right? And basically says he doesn't want to
In
be
closing statements, yeah.
in the closing statement. So the next day he comes back. Oh, and in his closing statements, he basically says, "I just want to blow it all up." Right? That's what he says. And get something.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
agreeing with you.
So then the next day, for sentencing, he's he's going to be found guilty, and he's going to get the death penalty. But before anything can proceed, there's an explosion in the courtroom. Everyone's knocked out. I think some people are killed. We see Harvey Dent is on the ground. Half of his face is kind of charred, thus getting the Two-Face persona, like a glimpse at that.
Yep.
And Arthur, one whole wall of the courthouse is knocked out. So he climbs down. There are two guys in Joker face paint and outfits who are waiting to help him escape. he gets in the car with the guys. They go as far as they can before they run into traffic, and then Arthur gets out, runs away from them, runs back to his his home, and goes up the stairs, goes up that long staircase, and meets that's where he meets
Harley.
Leigh for the final time.
Oh.
And by the way, she is decked out in the Harley Quinn makeup and even her outfit because she dressed up the day for court.
But it did
So,
look like she might have committed suicide at one point when Arthur makes the statement that he's not the Joker. He's always been Arthur. He's done horrible things. He admits that he actually killed his mother, which would make victim number 6 as opposed to the 5.
Yeah.
And she's just disgusted by it. She goes back to the apartment. He calls, leaves a voicemail, sings to her.
Yeah.
And then you see her with the gun, and she, points it at her head, which is basically how she kind of like got his attention the very first time that they met. She walked out of the choir room and calls after him, and she goes, puts the finger gun to her head and goes,
which is what Zazie Beetz' character did in one of his fantasies in the elevator in the first movie.
Yeah. Sure did. Yeah. So, but in that moment, this is a real gun. You don't know if it's loaded or not. You don't know if she actually, did the deed. And all the events that you just explained happen with the courtroom, the explosion, the getaway car. He finds her on the stairs, but she's, like you said, very much decked out in the Harley Quinn sort of makeup. She cut her hair. Yeah. She is singing to him one last time, and that's where he makes the statement like, no, I don't want to sing anymore. Like, he's trying to get her to stop. He touches her face, her lips to try to get her to stop, and he goes, we can be together now. Like we're having a baby, and she says, goodbye, Arthur, and walks away. You hear sirens come in the background, and Arthur is once again taken away to Arkham State Hospital, and he's pretty much the same broken man that we saw in the very beginning of this movie, which, by the way, failed to mention the level of commitment that Joaquin gives in all of his roles. The fact that he once again lost all that weight and probably then some, because he's now 5 years older than what he was back in 2019.
Yeah.
I think he's pushing 50, if I'm not mistaken. So for someone to physically do this to his body, lose all the weight, he's pretty much, skin and bone.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
His back, it's like he's just got bones sticking out. Yeah.
And I think it's to showcase even more of, of course, his time in Arkham. Yeah. Again, I'm impressed with the level of commitment that actors will take on with their roles.
Yeah.
But he was broken in the beginning of this movie. Like I said, he didn't really talk for the first half hour of this movie. Yeah. Until he met Leigh, and he starts kind of, coming out of his shell a little more. He starts singing, he starts, talking more, he's giving interviews and this and that, what have you. I will say when he kind of ousted the security guards, Brendan Gleeson and company, in courtroom, they do kind of get their revenge, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
in a scene in a scene they don't show, but they allude to the fact that they molest him, they assault him, they strip him, and then they don't show that. I've seen people online that have really been critical of that scene. I'm like, they don't even show it. So
I don't want to see it.
No, I don't want to see it either. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. But what I'm saying is, people are acting like it's something that they like. It's a graphic scene. They don't show it. Like,
no.
So you can't complain about that scene if they don't see it. Like it's. Well, see, a lot of my problem with this movie. A lot of the criticisms I think are just flat out dumb. They're just dumb criticisms of people that don't understand the movie, didn't see the movie, which that's a real thing in our society now too. Just people jump online and want to pile on to something that they don't even care enough about to go see. That's the stuff that kind of bothers me, because it's like, this is not a bad movie. Like
it's not.
You don't have to like everything, but I mean, like to make it sound like it's the worst thing we've ever seen is like, you need to, if you think this is the worst, you need to see more movies, like for real.
The level of intensity in that scene with Brendan Gleeson just being utterly, by the way, his character's name, Jackie Sullivan, being so pissed off that Arthur ousted them in the courtroom, right? Talking about the poor treatment of the inmates or patients at Arkham State Hospital. Jackie didn't appreciate that. He's gonna, prove his superiority to that of Arthur / Joker, and like you said, strips him. You're led to believe that perhaps they beat him or assaulted him, probably sexually, right?
Yeah.
They throw him back into confinement, but you hear one of Arthur's friends, if you will, fellow patient, name, it's either Nikki or Ricky. I'm not Ricky. Okay. Ricky, who clearly is unwell, but has taken a liking to Arthur to a degree. They even shared a kiss in this movie, by the way. Yeah. But Ricky, who is kind of mocking Jackie to a degree. Jackie would always whistle when the Saints go marching in, and he openly will sing it as well. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. And Jackie, who's also in confinement for unknown reasons that I can't recall.
Ricky.
Sorry, Ricky. Too many damn names. Good Lord. Ricky is singing that to Jackie and basically saying, you're going to get yours one day. You're going to get yours. Well, that pisses the fuck off Jackie or pisses the fuck out of Jackie and opens the door and strangles Jackie to death.
Ricky. Jackie strangles Ricky. It's okay.
Cheers, everyone.
Right. The prison guard strangles the prisoner. Yes. Yeah.
But Arthur is listening to this happen.
Yes.
He's broken.
Yeah.
Probably physically broken. And he's listening to this. And I think it's at that point he realizes no matter what, even if the lawyer was able to get him off on the technicality of Arthur is mentally unwell. He has a dual personality. He was insane. Whatever. Society was always going to work against Arthur. Yeah. There was no way for him to win. He was never going to have a happy ending.
No.
And whether he folded because of that realization or really had a come to Jesus moment where he's like, you know what? I really don't have anything wrong with me. Like, there is no other personality. It's just me. Yeah. I did these things because I was mad at the world. Again, ambiguity is part of the theme and formula of these movies. And if it was because of that moment of his influence that Ricky, I said the name right, Ricky stood by, but ultimately resulted in his death, it's not worth it in Arthur's eyes. Why are people dying for him? Yeah. Or because of him? Maybe there's that last little bit of humanity left in him. Arthur knows what it feels like to be beaten, be, ridiculed and what have you. Why are other people having to suffer because of him?
Mm-hmm. Oh, good question. Let's get to the ending of this movie. We've kind of danced around it, but let's actually talk about it because
but dancing's fun, Justin, when you're in fantasy land.
In addition to Ricky, there's another inmate that they show a few times throughout the movie. Now, I did clock this one because when I saw him, I saw the movie the first time, they kept showing him. He has a sinister look on his face, a younger guy.
They lingered on him for a little while.
Yeah, especially one time they really took a good shot of him, and you're just like, okay, this guy, looking at his face, he looks like he might have some Joker in him.
Yep.
And so
sure does.
The way the movie ends, we have one of the prison guards tells Arthur that he has a visitor. So before we get any further, I want to ask you, do you think he actually had a visitor? And if so, who do you think it was?
One would believe that the visitor could have been Leigh Quinzel, even though she bid her goodbye to Arthur, right? Joker is dead in her eyes, right? There is no Joker. Sorry if you can hear Luna in the background. She wants my attention. One could believe it's Leigh. I could lean to the idea perhaps Gary Puddles came to visit him. Okay. I don't know for what reason other than just to confront his fears, if you will, because he did say in court that he was afraid of Arthur. I'm also led to believe, however, that the visitor was a lie.
Yes,
that perhaps this was all an inside job. It was an inside setup. By whom? I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I kind of want to lean towards maybe Jackie Sullivan, who is the guard, Brendan Gleeson, because Arthur in this state has been rearrested, if you will, after seeing Harley or Leigh.
Yeah.
He's broken once again. He's just quiet. He's watching TV with the rest of the patients, and Jackie walks by whistling. He kind of tips his hat to Arthur, but keeps on walking by. Right? They used to pester Arthur for, hey, you have a joke for us today? Every single fucking day they would do that.
Yeah.
But no, he just nods to him, walks by. And then another guard, hey, Arthur, you have a visitor. Okay, like this is weird, right? So he begins walking. But then you see the camera linger on that one patient that you were talking about, Justin, the unknown, if you will. And so Arthur's walking down this hallway. He is leagues behind this other security guard.
Yeah, you don't even see the security guard anymore. It's
not really. Yeah.
You don't like, why would the security guard give Arthur that much space?
That's what I said. Okay, so sorry if my camera's a little blurry right now. I don't know what's happening. But beside that, security guard keeps walking. Arthur is taking his time, if you will, but then he gets stopped by that one young patient who says, hey, I got a joke for you. You want to hear it?
Yep.
And Arthur, who thought he was going to have a career in comedy, again, knows the feeling of rejection, and he gives this kid an opportunity. Okay, well, is it quick? Yeah, I'll make it quick. Okay, and so he's listening. The guy's going on about the joke and a psychopath and what was the criminal? What did he say? Justin?
I think it's a clown goes into a bar.
There you go.
Like, what do you want to drink? He's like, I'm not sure. I'll have whatever you're having. He says, well, let me give you what you deserve.
I'll give you anything. Yeah.
Okay, well, how about I give you what you fucking deserve? Which calls back to what happened in the end of the first movie when he kills Murray on the Murray Franklin show. It's a similar joke.
Yeah. What happens when you cross a mentally, ill person who society has let down? You get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah.
And that's what started this movement. So yeah, that young patient is echoing basically that to Arthur.
Right.
But the surprising twist was that he stabs Arthur with a shiv multiple times in the abdomen, and no security guard is in sight.
Yep.
Really, there's not that much screaming or
No.
moaning or anything like that whatsoever. But Arthur is standing there. It quickly flashes back to a fantasy scene between him and Leigh, as if they had their own Sonny and Cher type show, where she's pointing a gun at him because she shot him. And needless to say, Arthur is dying. He's dying. He falls. Well, he actually hits his head up against the wall, kind of smashes it in, and falls to the ground. He's bleeding out. He's kind of shaking. Wonderful performance by Joaquin, because he never takes his eyes off the camera. But in the background is where you really need to pay attention. And this is why I go back to say, I understood the assignment. I understood that the ending, what it was trying to convey. This was never the origin story of Joker, aka Arthur Fleck. This was the inspiration behind possibly the Joker. Because the young patient is laughing, and he's got that same laugh that you hear from maybe perhaps Heath Ledger. And I say Heath Ledger because Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger were real life friends, and I'm sure it was devastated when Heath Ledger passed away. Joaquin's also experienced trauma of his own. Okay, he was there the night that his brother River died. Okay, so this guy's not. He's familiar with trauma.
Yeah,
but guy in the background laughing. He's sitting, I guess, on a table or something, and then he's
just leaning against the wall. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But then you hear skin kind of kind of, you kind of see it, but you hear it more so skin, kind of sclinching. I don't know if that's the right word, but he's laughing. And then it's like a callback to what we heard in The Dark Knight about, you wonder how I got these scars.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this has to be a nod to Heath Ledger, because I believe I heard or read somewhere that Joaquin based his Joker persona off of Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight.
So let me give you
a great homage. I think it's a great homage.
So let me give you a little insight on this, what happened. So
I'm going to have a drink.
The young inmate, like you said, he carves his mouth like the Joker did in the Heath Ledger in the Dark Knight movie. Okay. So originally, back in 2019's Joker, Todd Phillips wanted to have Arthur do that to himself in front of the crowd. However, at that time, Christopher Nolan still worked with Warner Brothers. So,
Oh,
and apparently Christopher Nolan put the kibosh in that. He didn't want that to happen. He said that should only be for Heath Ledger's Joker. Okay.
okay.
So fast forward to now, Christopher Nolan no longer works with Warner Brothers. He's now with Universal Studios after the fallout from what happened with Tenet. They made Tenet a day-and-day release, or no, they did a day-and-day release, I believe. And obviously he didn't enjoy that. And so he
I don't
took,
know what that means, but okay.
well, the movie came out in theaters, but it was also on Max the same day. Right. I believe
Oh,
that's what it
okay.
was. Yeah. Or maybe it was in theaters for a short period of time, then it went to Max really fast.
Gotcha.
Basically, you know, he makes his movies for the big screen, right? So that's
Yes.
why Oppenheimer was a Universal Studios movie.
Oh,
That's why
wonderful.
his next film will be a Universal Studios movie. So with Christopher Nolan out of the way, now Todd Phillips could do what he wanted to do with having someone carve their mouth open like what Heath Ledger's character did.
Yes.
Now, this has also caused people to make the dumb assumption that somehow this character becomes Heath Ledger's Joker. It's like, in what world? Like, I mean, like this is a separate separate story. It's not connected
It's a
to Ben
separate
Affleck.
universe, people.
It's not connected to Michael Keaton's Batman, Ben
Nope.
Affleck's Batman's.
Nope.
No one's Batman. Okay. It's
Nope.
a separate. Okay.
Yep.
This is not hard to understand. So that's been something of and so then other people are like, well, you know, I get that, but you know, it's the fact that they did that to the, you know, that should have just been for Heath Ledger's Joker. And it's like, well, like,
no, I think it was great.
These characters have been around for 80 something years. You're going to get similar things happen to these characters.
You're going to get overlap.
Of course
you are. I feel, again, because knowing that Joaquin Phoenix and Heath Ledger were good friends, best friends, if you will, in real life, I'm sure that may have been something that either Joaquin proposed or maybe Todd Phillips said, hey, you know, I think I want to do this. You know, what do you think, Joaquin? You know, it's like an homage to your friend whom you've based a lot of your character on. Like, what do you think about that? That would be a great, a great tribute.
It's also just kind of a great visual of a psychopath, like becoming, you know, fully embracing.
That guy was more psychotic than Arthur Fleck.
Well, yeah, of course. So, so ultimately we're led to believe this guy is the Joker. Although Todd Phillips has said that, you know, obviously this is going nowhere. This is he's not doing another Joker movie.
Yeah.
He's done with this universe.
This is the one and done. Well, not one and done, but yeah.
But no, it's over now. So
it's over.
We can lay that to rest, but
it's not over. Sorry.
You're all over the place tonight.
I know, it happens when I drink.
Yeah. But no, like I thought it was you know, was it the best way to end this story? I don't know. But I did like it. I thought it was like we said,
good ending for Arthur.
Right. There's no happy ending for this character. He killed 6 people. Like it was going to end in a bad way, just given his life. And that's life. That's one of the big songs from the first movie.
That's life.
And that's, So
love it.
So yeah.
No,
so
I mean, like I said, I personally had to marinate on this movie. I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
Will I go see it again in theaters? Maybe. It is a long movie. I feel like the pacing wasn't quite as good as Joker, right? The first movie. Yeah. I feel like with Joker, because literally there were no expectations whatsoever. Like you had no idea what could, you know, happen. Everything was brand new, of course. And this is why sequels obviously are so difficult to watch after the original, because you have expectations. And I try very hard not to go into anything with expectations anymore. However, this one was a little bit of the exception. However, I feel like I said, I will still stand by this. The storytelling was fine. It wasn't perfect. I understood it altogether. I think the pacing also just didn't help with the overall storytelling. I still find the musical numbers wonderful. I love how we've tapped into that sort of fantasy illusion, if you will, for people who suffer from mental illness, if you will, right? And I think that's probably the problem that people or the audiences have today, is because for so long mental illness as a subject has been very taboo.
Mhm.
And we're now in an age where people are becoming a little bit more upfront about it. And for some, it's still like difficult to talk about because it just is. But this, I think the formula of these movies have left us with like, you're not meant to know everything because
Yeah.
that was the intention, right? You're just, everything's left up for your personal interpretation.
Yeah.
But
These movies are psychological. I mean,
they are, they
this was a
are for sure.
psychological musical, which is, not often what a musical is usually,
Yeah,
made to be.
yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, there's like I said, it's not made for super intellectuals either, but you do need to pay attention and
Yeah.
you need to kind of give it a chance. And like I said, it's not my favorite movie.
No.
I wouldn't say it met my expectations, but I didn't really have expectations given what happened with the first one. I thought the first one was amazing, but it's like,
Oh, so good.
the question of like, where do you go next? I That's why I
We
was
don't.
interested. I'm always I'm always interested in that whenever they decide to do
Yeah.
something because I'm like, where do you go next? I'm just like I'm really interested to see how Robert Downey Jr. becomes Doctor Doom.
Dr.
I mean,
Doom.
I have faith in them, but like, could that blow up in their face? Of course it could. But
Yes.
I'm interested to see where that goes. And I
Yeah.
think that this movie was an interesting, entertaining movie. And
Mhm.
I like I said, I have no problem defending it, but I mean, I don't feel like it needs to be defended. I think it's a solid movie, and
Mhm.
people need to kind of relax and just like enjoy the movies and stop trying to just shit on everything.
I mean, but for sure, because the fact that there is a good portion that's musical and people sometimes are just obviously not into musicals.
Yeah,
I get it. It's
yeah,
valid. Like,
yeah.
you're not going to like this movie because it's musicals. Hell, people from here in the Watchers in the Basement
Our
are not
podcast,
into
yeah,
musicals. Therefore, they're not going to go watch it. And that's fine. To
yeah.
each their own.
That's why I'm saying, like,
I
I don't think it's as much a musical as people think it is. And like I said, the first one has a lot of song and dance and a lot of music, and like if you really look at it, there's a
But
lot of music in that.
it's not coming from the main actors though. That I think that's
No,
what people are struggling with.
it's not,
Yeah.
but like
Also,
still,
people, did you just like not like Disney growing up? Like what's happening? What's happened? Who hurt you?
yeah. Simba, I guess, hurt him. Let's get some questions from the chat, Brittany.
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Raheem has one here. He says, "Do you guys think we'll get a solo Lady Gaga film?" I assume you mean a solo Harley Quinn film. No, I do
No.
not. I think
No. No.
this universe is done.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and
I
given
don't
what happened
I
with the
don't
film,
think it would be wise
yeah,
that, and that's no disrespect at all to Lady Gaga. I think she
yeah,
would do wonderful. I just think because solely the fact that this movie was meant to be a one-off. Joker was meant to be a one-off.
yes,
It was never meant to be a sequel.
yeah,
But because of money, the almighty dollar, that's why
yeah,
they made the sequel. No, I don't think that they will ever
yeah.
do a solo Harley Quinn movie. The one that
Well,
you
I don't.
watched, Justin, that had Margot Robbie, you said was god
Oh,
awful.
yeah, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, or it was called Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. It's
That
my
is quite the
worst.
title.
It's my worst DC EU movie.
I'm
So
too buzzed to even
yeah,
try to
no,
remember that.
not a fan. Another question from Rahib here. He says, "Do you think there will be a Joker versus Batman face-off?"
No.
I do in the DCU. In James Gunn's
Oh.
DCU, whenever we get to a Batman, which the Brave and Bold is the title for the Batman movie.
As long as it's not
Um,
Affleck, I'm fine.
it will not be Ben Affleck. He
Thank
will not be
God.
playing Batman. I don't know. Maybe he's a Joker. Who knows? Um,
He will be
but
divorced J-Lo.
right. So no, I don't see that. I mean, I do see that happening in the DCU, but not in a. This film franchise is not continuing. So,
Yeah. No.
um,
Done. Done.
King B. Johnson, he had one before, but here's another one. Are these the two best Joker movies ever? I mean, they're the only two Joker
Yeah.
solo movies.
Centric. Yeah.
I mean, The Dark Knight is a Joker movie, and in a lot of ways, Batman
Yeah.
'89 is kind of half and half. I mean, those original Batman movies were more about the villain than they were about Batman. I mean, the second one's all about Catwoman and Penguin. The third one's all about what?
Bane.
No, it's
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Riddler and Two-Face. Then you
Yeah.
get Mr. Freeze and Batman,
Mr.
Mr.
Freeze.
Freeze, and oh god, what's
Worst
her name?
movie ever.
Uma Thurman's character, Poison
Poison
Ivy.
Ivy.
they're kind of the main characters. So, I mean, no, I mean, The Dark Knight is the best Batman movie. It's also the best Joker movie. Oh well, I mean, Joker was great, but again, he's not
Oh,
playing the
I love
Joker.
Joker.
Yeah, he's not
Joker,
playing. Yeah,
if we ever do a rankings for DCU, I can guarantee that Joker is going to be my number one. Guarantee.
yeah, it's not my number one, but it's high. Oh, it's high up there.
Blasphemy.
No, I mean the Dark Knight movies are all three are better.
Okay.
Batman Begins,
That's a fair
Dark
argument.
Knight,
That's a fair argument. Okay.
Dark Knight Rises. Yeah,
Batman Begins is not one of my favorites. I will say that.
Batman Begins,
Which is sad because Cillian Murphy is awesome.
Batman Begins is so underrated. Like it might be the best one of the three. It is the most Batman movie. I'll put it that way.
Okay, fine. Fine.
Is it the best?
I do like Liam Neeson though. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyway. Is Joaquin Phoenix the best Joker?
Again, he's not playing Joker. So that's
Right.
where the question is not totally, a valid question in respect. I mean, obviously he won an Academy Award. So did Heath Ledger for their portrayals of a Joker-like character.
I don't remember
know.
Jack Nicholson's Joker enough to really
Oh yeah, he was
give a confident
he had top
his-
billing in the movie. He made a lot of money.
Duh.
Yeah.
I mean, but I personally just don't remember the performance that
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Batman Returns is probably my favorite of the two, but anyway. I think Heath Ledger trumps, no pun intended, Joaquin a little bit just because of the level of insanity that was ensued.
Yeah.
I think having to tap into that kind of persona takes a lot out of a person.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Joaquin wasn't phenomenal in his role. I think in a way Joaquin, I've been using this word a lot lately. Joaquin's performance was more grounded, like in the sense of like being someone who for real has a mental illness and it being far more believable. Whereas with Heath, it was like he obviously was clearly insane, but he is a criminal mastermind.
Right.
And those are two very different roles.
I give Heath Ledger's Joker the nod because he went head to head with Batman. But he actually was the Joker. So
yes,
I'll give him the credit. Yeah.
That movie was great too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So that does it for questions. Brittany, any final thoughts about the movie?
People give Joker Folie due an honest, like a god honest try. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you can listen to critics, you can listen to what your friends have to say, people have to say. Okay. Don't let people make up your mind for you.
Right.
Like take control of that. If you want to spend the money on the movie, go watch it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go watch it. Form your own opinion. Okay. Don't let society get to you.
Yeah. Don't
as society did get to Arthur Fleck. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't repeat those mistakes.
Don't
form
just
your own opinion.
Go along with the echo chamber that is the internet and social media.
Oh my God. Yes.
I mean, if you see the movie and you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. But there's a difference in not liking a movie and thinking it's the worst movie ever made. We're so hyperbolic nowadays. We're such prisoners of the moment.
Yes.
It's like, like this movie had way too much going for it and way too much pedigree to be as bad as some people are portraying it to be.
Although I will say it seems like a number was cut out from the movie because we would see this in the trailer, a scene of Joker and Leigh like on the stairs somewhere and they're like doing the kick, they're kicking out. And I'm like, where was that scene? I wanted to see that scene. I saw the outfits,
but
I didn't get to see the scene. So
yeah, there's some people that are pointing out that there's some Gaga things that are missing and they want to see the Gaga.
She like kissed someone who was protesting on the stairs and I was just like,
they want to see the Gaga cut. So
dude, yes, I want to see the Gaga cut. I would rather see that over the Snyder cut again.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Gaga cut. Gaga cut.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're going to wrap it up with the Gaga cut talk. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So Brittany, now that everyone knows what we think about Joker Folie do, we want to know what they think and how can they let us know?
Well, my Luna back here didn't get to share her thoughts on Joker Folie do, but she encourages everyone to let us know in the comments down below and to Subscribe while you're at it. At present time, the Watchers in the Basement are currently at 412 subscribers. We would like to keep that number rising. So help make that happen. Subscribe.
Up and away. Yep.
Hit that like button as well to help support our channel. If you liked our review on Joker Folie à Deux, give it a like. If you didn't like our review on Joker Folie à Deux, give it a thumbs up either way. Okay, just do it. Help us out. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way, you know the next time we go live, which for this week will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
We will be reviewing the latest episode of Agatha All Along that is streaming on Disney Plus. We've been enjoying that series very, very much. And we hope to see you join us in that live chat as well. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find all of those links in the description box down below. And also, if video podcasting is not your thing, we've got you covered with audio podcast available to you on Apple and Spotify. Yes, I actually got that right, Justin. Oh my God, I've been drinking. Yeah, give us a follow on those platforms. And don't forget to give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
That's life. That's life.